So, don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't this.
Hello everyone, I am Hat Monster with United We Game, and this is Transistor, a game that is particularly near and dear to my heart, and one that, while having achieved some critical acclaim last year, actually more than a little, it's one I've always felt is still somehow a little bit underrated, as most fanboys do, I suppose. So I'm doing my part, and we're going to take a nice, good hard look at the game. But before we get started, I decided that it would be best to address the biggest issue with the game. Well, not so much an issue. Yes, it is fun. But more of a basis for confusion. And that would be the combat.
We're not alone. Hey.
No, we're not.
Friendly.
We got ourselves a fire dog.
Hi, Luna.
Let's see, we'll get him to hit the ball. I'm going to get going again. Hit the ball.
Luna,
Hit the
fetch.
ball. Come on.
Good girl.
There we go. Anyway, combat takes a little bit of getting used to in this game. It's turn-based, but not quite, and we'll get into that right now, actually. So why don't we just take door number 1 and have ourselves a little bit of practice.
What's behind door number 5?
Sorry, door number 5. It's the first door. Why is it 5?
We can come here for practice.
I guess I'm wrong. Anyway, before we get going, I'm just going to clear up a couple of things about Transistor. It takes place in a world that's at least partially digital, if all the nice little graphics and heads-up displays didn't already give that away. And this, well, I'm sure you've noticed me dragging around this thing here. Looks like a sword. Would sound like a sword if they had the right sound effects. We'll get on that another time. But it's not exactly a sword. But for the purposes of our explanation, our little walkthrough here. Sorry, I'll stop doing this. We'll call it a sword that does things. So it is a sword, but it's also more than a sword. And how this sword works, this Transistor, for that's what it actually is. It's the name of the game. It's what the game revolves around. There's all of this stuff. All this stuff here. Now, I've been through the game a couple of times, so I've got more stuff than you'll probably see your first time through, and indeed in our first run through here. But that's not what's important here. These are what are called functions. They enable our sword to do stuff. How do they know our functions? It says functions right up there, right in the corner there. And nope, we're not losing our train of thought. We're going to keep going, so here we go. Why don't we start by just installing a function? As you probably guessed, these all do different things. And the names kind of hint at it. Jaunt, go for a nice little jaunt, lets you sprint around, run faster, makes things move more quickly. Crash, crashes things. Stuns them. Stuns them, makes them vulnerable to follow-up attacks, even more so than Breach, which also does something similar, but it's more of like a long-range attack, mostly for damage, but I am getting ahead of myself, so why don't we start by just building ourselves a basic function. So we're going to take Crash. It's our nice all-around, it's our starter function. Excuse me for that. And we're just going to install it into one of our 4 primary slots. Now, we don't have all of these open right away, but we always do start with 4 primary slots, each conveniently mapped to one of our face buttons, as you can no doubt see here. I don't know why I explained that to you. If you're watching this, you obviously know what a face button is, and you're interested in the game at all. So I'm going to stop placating, and we're going to get going. So I'm going to install this on X, our first primary function. Now you see down here, it'll say, give you some numbers, base damage 50, stuns them for a little bit, and costs a little bit of turn. What's turn? Well, you know what? We'll get into that after we're done building our functions. But what you need to know about these numbers, well, it's really, you really don't. That's one of the tricks. I'm sure all these numbers are accurate, but they don't really give you an idea of what's going on. What's important is what the function does. And in this case, crash will stun your enemy for a short amount of time. The amount of time really doesn't matter because everything's going to be done super quick. We're going to be super quick with this. So we'll put it in. Okay, we have ourselves a basic function. But we could probably do better. Why don't we put in a couple more? I'm going to show you a couple more that you won't get right away, but they're good to know about anyway. So why don't we start by adding void. I always like to put void on square. Doesn't have to be on square. I just like square. It makes sense to me. So we're going to stick this in here. Now again, you can see the turn planning cost. It's probably not going to cost all that much. It lasts for a little while. Again, not important. What is important is the fact that it weakens your targets. And now, you wouldn't notice this right away, but right under the details, it says it cripples targets, defense, and attack. Attack really doesn't matter to us, it's defense. And this stacks 3 times. Again, this is for turn purposes, which we'll get into after we're done building this. So we'll stick void on here, because we like to be OP. Alright. And you know what, why don't we go ahead and round out some of these things? Why don't we add ourselves breach? We'll stick that here. It's a little bit stronger than crash, has some range, it doesn't stun the enemies. This is just a damage dealing move. Again, the numbers next to range and the turn planning costs really don't matter. What we're coming away from here is this is a more powerful attack than stun. Here I am going off of what they actually do. Then crash, and will allow us to attack from a distance. So okay. So we got ourselves some basic attacks and one status effect. Why don't we give ourselves a little bit of an edge here? Breach is powerful, but it could be more powerful. So we're going to put something called load in here. Now, it says that it's meant to increase blast radius. It's meant to do a lot of things. Again, we're not really interested in it. Like, yeah, we won't go through targets. It's not important. Blast radius 200, again, that doesn't really mean anything to us. What we care about, again, is what it does to the damage. It adds roughly 10%, maybe a little bit more. Don't quote me on that. I am not a math guy. So we'll stick that on here. And, you know, this is actually a good opportunity to do this. These are what we call upgrade slots. These, you start out with a couple on your first face button under X. You have to unlock them. The important thing is that they add different effects to the attacks, just as we see here. And then you can kind of guess what they'll do by the name. See, to me, I read load and I think, okay, it's loading some extra power in it, it's preloading it, it can do more damage because it's better optimized. So it doesn't do a ton more, but it is doing more because it had the chance to load up, so to speak. Is this accurate to the name? I don't know. This is just how I always thought of it. But we're going to keep going. Onto void, we're going to add get. This will pull enemies in, so even if they try to get away, they're still going to get voided. Their attempts to escape will be null and void, so to speak. Haha. And now that should be it for a basic primer, but we're going to try a couple more things. Now we have ourselves some passive slots. You only start out with one of these, and we'll get more into it as we go through the proper walkthrough. Basically, these give you effects that are always on. In this case, what this one will allow me to do is to quickly disappear as soon as I take out an enemy. Be able to disappear or move around a little bit. It only lasts a couple seconds, but actually that is it. That's more than enough that you need usually. So we'll stick that on here. Okay, so we've given ourselves some basic attacks. We've modified them to our liking, and we've given ourselves a little bit of an edge with a passive slot. Now, all of these can be put in any of those 3 slots. In fact, you have to if you want to find out everything about them. You see, these are also the keys to finding out more about people in this game.
Oh, Mark, that's the Hammer's quarter fielder. What they want with him.
What's a quarter fielder? I don't know. But it's definitely not a football term, so who cares? Each of these 3 segments will only unlock after you've used this function in each of the 3 different slots, a primary, an upgrade, and a passive. So as you're going through this, you know, it wouldn't hurt you at all to be a little bit creative. The only restriction on these is that you cannot modify, you cannot upgrade a primary function with 2 of the same upgrade. So I can't put 2 loads on Breach. See, I'll try, but no. So no doubling up, unfortunately, and I guess it has to be, because then we could really do some OP stuff. Not that we can't do it anyway. But we're getting a little long here, so let's go into it. Okay, so we have our stuff, so let's bring on the practice drones.
Looks real enough.
It is fake. Now we have 2 options here. We can take them all head on. Just hit the button, boom, boom. See, we're doing roughly 50 damage. That's what the space is. And we're all set. Now we can also come from behind here. Again, we're only doing a little bit of damage, no big deal, blah blah. It's kind of tedious, is it not? This is where turn comes in. We hit R2, and now we get to take our turn. And the best part is, we're the only ones who get to take a turn. They don't get to do squat. So why don't we take this chance and queue up some attacks. So now I queued up an attack. As you can see, it's saying that it's doing 75 damage because it's a backstab. Will it? Let's see. And it did. Executed that by pressing R2 to close out the turn, by the way. Now, the biggest point of contention with this game is that it's been known to lie. Does it lie? Let's see. This one's supposed to do 165 damage, and it's supposed to go through the other one. Will it? No, it didn't. It's because we forgot that load was added. So why don't we actually use turn to its fullest potential? Let's queue up some stuff. So we're going to throw void, and void, and void. And this is where the stacking comes in. We can only do it up to 3 times. Why don't we do a crash? Okay. So now that we've added an attack, the game apparently says we'll overkill it by about 58 damage. It won't always be like this. This will probably do the right amount of damage because these guys are standing still. So let's do this. 1, 2, 3. Yes, come on in here. Boom. And even saw her get in action here. Sucked them all in. And we did indeed kill that enemy. So why don't we void again, void again, void again. And this time we'll breach. We'll leave your name on that guy. Now supposedly this is enough to get rid of them. And again, since this is practice and they aren't moving, it will. Breach, breach, and breach. Wait, I had that backwards. Oops. We'll get more into this out into the wild. But the thing to remember is that turn is only accurate at the time you activate it. So I queue up turn, put some damage on here. We're gonna void him 3 times. He's not gonna be able to do squat, and then we'll breach him. Now, this will do 536 damage, but all we care about is the fact that it's bringing his health bar all the way down. The numbers aren't important. All we care about is just how much of the health bar we're seeing. So, in this, 186 damage. More than we need. And here we are just dragging things out, just dragging them all out. Do a little bit of loop. I can't move right now. But let me get to the point. When we're fighting real enemies, they're always going to be moving around. So 186 at the time you've paused won't necessarily be the same amount of damage you do when you activate it. Here we're fine. Void, 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 and breach. Boom. No big deal, no problem. But the thing is, enemies move. If you have a backstab, like that, and they turn around, it's no longer a backstab, so you're actually going to be doing less damage than you think you are. It can be a problem. It can be a problem in the beginning, I won't lie. But there's a way around it. Just overkill it. Game says you only need to do 50 damage. Do 100, do 150. Make sure they're down and out. Otherwise, they're going to get you. Oh, they're going to get you. But these guys aren't. Crash. Boom. And we did it. We took down the dummies and zoomed away. Now, there's so much more you could do here. There's so much more I want to show you, but I think it would be a little bit premature to get into the really juicy, powerful stuff. And that is Transistor's combat in a nutshell. A little complicated, yeah, but you know, once you learn the biggest rule, that is overkill, always.
What do you want to do now, Red?
Then we should have no trouble. He's asked us what we want to do.
That's our girl.
We're gonna play with Luna. We're gonna play with this ball, and we're gonna see you next time when we start the game proper. See you guys later. The y'all with the song.